Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a Cuero man is arrested for weapons charges and tampering with evidence.
Plus, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality reviews the Lavaca River water use permit for a reservoir project.
And 10 first responders are hospitalized after a North Texas warehouse chemical fire.
We had a couple of showers roll through the area right about now. We still have some there. This is going to be ending within the hour, and then by tonight, things are going to clear up. We've got some dry air coming in for a very nice couple of days. And also, we'll have all the latest on Hurricane Helene heading for Florida. All that coming up.
And Victoria West is ready to begin district play versus San Antonio McCullum. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Shawna Currie.
This afternoon, Victoria County deputies arrested a 15-year-old student at Victoria East High School. He is accused of threatening to use a weapon.
25 News Now weekend anchor Amaya Norman joins us now with the details. Amaya.
Yes, Shawna and Don, authorities say the student made the statement to a school security officer just before 2 p.m. School resource deputies quickly found and detained the student. This comes a day after the Victoria ISD held a press conference about a recent threat and issue in the district. Today, the sheriff office is reporting 2 more incidents in the district. Victoria County Sheriff Justin Marr says a student at East today was charged with making a false alarm or report. That's a felony. The student was transported to the juvenile detention facility. Authorities determined the student did not have a weapon. In a separate incident, deputies responded to a threat targeting people at a school this afternoon. As a precaution, both Still Middle School and nearby Smith Elementary were placed on temporary hold. The hold was lifted and school resumed as normal. The 1 arrest today make a total of 13 arrests so far this year in just 6 weeks. Shawna and Don, back to you.
Amaya, thank you. Victoria police arrested a 30-year-old man Tuesday on 2 unlawful carry of a weapon charges. Jacob Rodriguez of Cuero also faces a charge of tampering with physical evidence with intent to impair. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $103,850 bond. A 15-year-old Cuero boy is reported missing. Cuero police say Nicholas Haupt was reported as a runaway. He was last seen at 7:30 Tuesday night in Sutherland Springs. Nicholas was wearing a white t-shirt and black jeans then. Nicholas is 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighs 120 pounds. If Nicholas is seen, contact the Cuero Police Department at 361-275-5734. Harboring a runaway child is a Class A misdemeanor punishable by confinement in jail and/or a fine.
The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is considering a water use permit to divert more than 96,000 acre-feet of water per year from the Lavaca River. A public hearing was held last night in Edna on the application that was filed by the Lavaca Navidad River Authority, or LNRA. If approved, the permit will allow LNRA to build and maintain a dam and reservoir that will supply water for municipal, industrial, and mining purposes in Calhoun, Jackson, Matagorda, Wharton, and Victoria counties.
Some of the potential consequences of this action would be less fresh water reaching the bay, which is our primary concern, and that has negative consequences for fisheries, for habitats, specifically oysters, oyster reef distribution and abundance.
Another person affected by the proposal is Tad Mayfield, owner of Lavaca River Ranch. He was there and says an environmental study was not done, and damming the river could change the whole ecosystem of the water, potentially damaging it.
Matagorda County Commissioners Court approved the fiscal 2025 budget and tax rate at the court's meeting Monday. The new budget totals over $32 million. The tax rate will be about 2 cents lower than the current rate. Helene roared ashore in Mexico as a tropical storm early Wednesday morning. Helene battered Mexico's Gulf Coast with howling winds and heavy rains, then intensified into a Category 1 hurricane as it plowed toward Florida. Mandatory evacuation orders are in place for parts of 15 Florida counties. Helene is expected to hit the state's Big Bend region as a Category 3 storm, where it could bring a life-threatening storm surge of up to 15 feet.
Well, we're seeing some rain right now, not related to Helene in any way. But here is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez with a look outside. Mac.
Yes, we had the frontal system that I promised you came through right on time, and we had that little shower activity, but all that's going to be decreasing within the hour. Now back to Helene. Helene is going to be a serious problem because it's forecast to strengthen up to a Category 4 now. This is as of maybe an hour ago. And then it rolls into Florida, and it's still the Big Bend, Apalachicola, Tallahassee. They're all going to get hammered by tomorrow night. We'll have all that coming up in just a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. A former Houston police officer was convicted of murder in the 2019 deaths of a couple during a drug raid at their home. A jury on Wednesday found Gerald Goins guilty of 2 counts of murder in the January 2019 deaths of Dennis Tuttle and his wife, Regina Nicholas. An investigation after the raid revealed systemic corruption problems within the police department's narcotics unit. Prosecutors said Goins lied in order to get a search warrant for the couple's home.
10 first responders are recovering after a chemical fire in Frisco. The 3 firefighters and 7 police officers were taken to the hospital after battling the large chemical fire at a pool supply warehouse. Officials lifted a shelter-in-place order after the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality found the air quality to be good. Officials are also no longer concerned about groundwater contamination.
A suspect is in custody after a bomb went off at a courthouse in California Wednesday morning. A court official says the suspect reportedly threw a bag with a bomb in it in front of the arraignment courtroom inside the Superior Court complex. Police and emergency personnel converged on the complex afterward. Santa Maria authorities also called for lockdowns of city buildings as a precaution, including City Hall and the Finance Department. So far, there are no reports of injuries. There's no word on a motive. The House passed a temporary spending bill that would keep federal agencies funded when the new fiscal year begins next Tuesday. The bill also delays final decisions on spending for the next budget year until after the November 5th election. The stopgap measure generally funds agencies at current levels through December 20th. Speaker Mike Johnson touted the measure as doing only what's absolutely necessary in a bid to win over conservatives. The measure now moves to the Senate.
And this brings us to today's viewer poll. Which areas of government spending do you think should be prioritized to avoid a shutdown? Healthcare and social services, education, defense and national security, or infrastructure and public transportation? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to participate, or you can scan the QR code there on your screen. And 63% of you who have voted so far believe that defense and national security, 62%, just got another one for healthcare, but looks like defense and national security is top concern for our viewers. So continue to participate, and we'll have the latest results on 25 News Now at 10.
Southwest Airlines plans to eliminate about 1/3 of its flights to Atlanta next year to save money. Dallas-based Southwest is under pressure from a hedge fund to increase profits and boost the airline's stock price. The Atlanta flight cutbacks will eliminate more than 300 jobs for pilots and flight attendants. Southwest will cut 58 flights per day and reduce its presence at the Atlanta airport from 18 to 11 gates. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. A new campaign starts for a rural mental health resources hotline. And the Calhoun County Fair pageant wants contestants for next month's event. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com.
And remember to subscribe to the Crossroads Today YouTube channel. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so that you will get a notification whenever we upload new news. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, people living in Florida are making last-minute preparations ahead of Hurricane Helene.
Also ahead, astronomers discovered the largest black hole jets, reshaping our cosmic understanding. Donald Trump says he will return to Butler, Pennsylvania on October 5th to the exact location of his first assassination attempt. During the visit, Trump's campaign says he will honor the memory of the man shot and killed that July day, Currie, and recognize the two men who were wounded. Trump also plans to thank law enforcement and first responders who were there during the assassination attempt, as well as the Butler community for its love and support.
Federal health officials report a 10th person has died in the listeria outbreak that shuttered a Boar's Head deli meat plant. At least 59 people in 19 states were sickened by the bacteria first detected in liverwurst made at the Jarrett, Virginia plant. The latest death was reported in New York. Boar's Head says it is closing the Jarrett plant and discontinuing production of liverwurst. Boar's Head faces multiple lawsuits related to the deaths and illnesses. And here's a look at some of the top headlines this week in the Cuero Record. The community walks for suicide prevention, and Grace Episcopal Church and School celebrates 150 years. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Astronomers observed a massive pair of jets releasing from a supermassive black hole. It's only 7.5 billion light years from Earth. New research shows the megastructure spans 23 million light years in length, making these black hole jets the largest they've ever seen. The newly described jets have a power output equal to that of trillions of suns. The discovery is causing astronomers to rethink their understanding of how massive black hole jets can be and how they can affect the universe. Back on Earth, Helene is a Category 1 hurricane. It's gaining speed as it spins through warm Gulf waters. The southeastern U.S. is in its path. A Florida landfall expected tomorrow.
Yeah, Helene's powerful outermost bands are already hitting parts of Florida. In the Sunshine State, the clock is running out on a decision to stay or go.
You still have time to make the preparations and put your plan in place today, but that time is running out.
And running out fast. Helene is now a hurricane, swirling past Mexico and tracking toward landfall in Florida. And preparing for the worst is a moving target.
Conditions may very well, in the wide range of possibilities, be a Cat 1 all the way to a Cat 4. Many areas to the south are already beginning to feel the impact from the storm.
Part of that impact is tropical storm force winds and rain, lashing the Keys and southern Florida. In the hours ahead, those conditions will intensify and batter the entire western coastline before an expected landfall in the Big Bend area Thursday evening.
Many of our counties, if not all of them, have called for low-lying and manufactured housing evacuations already.
A term being used a lot by officials this week. You can hide from the wind, but run from the water.
If you do have a major surge and you stay behind, that is potentially hazardous.
Forecasters are gauging Helene's storm surge to hit between 5 and 15 feet in many areas. Many veterans of previous hurricanes like Ian and Idalia are opting to stay put.
I always draw up lots of water ahead of time, make sure I got food in the house, all that.
We're going surfing, we're hitting those waves.
Still others realize that staying is risky.
If you're a godly person, pray, because I don't really need this. Neither do any of us.
In Steinhatchee, Florida, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
We are, of course, well, that's interesting. We wanted to show you the stormy weather that was rolling through the area, but I guess the rain has ended and the bugs are out. We are looking at our current temperature of 77 degrees. Can you imagine, live on TV? Of course, it's beginning to cool down because of the rain, and the winds have turned around. Yes, it got up to 99 today, 10 degrees above our average, but that's gone. Our not so hot front is through the area. Now we're going to pick up a northerly wind tonight and tomorrow. Beautiful day coming up. We'll have the latest for us and the latest on Helene after this. Well, that frontal system was right on time. I told you it'd be about middle of the day. It came right through and gave us a few little showers rolling through the area. There for a while it looked kind of stormy, I know. But a lot of that is already clearing the coast and moving south. You can see that as the frontal system comes in to the north of us, we're picking up a north wind. Austin, San Antonio are already turned, and that is going to start drying the atmosphere out. And by tomorrow, we're going to be looking at much nicer weather around here. So a little bit of rain is good. It's going to be gone very rapidly. Here's our front. It's just about to pass through our region, and you're going to notice it when the winds definitely turn out of the north, how things are going to be drying up very nicely. After that, high pressure takes over and gives us a streak of really good days. We're talking overnight lows down into the 60s, daytime highs around 90 degrees, but no humidity. It'll be very comfortable. Boy, things are going to be different for Florida, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Look at this. We're not even going to break 90 tomorrow, and even all of far west Texas is going to be in the 80s, courtesy of that drier air. Well, big story. You can see it right here, and this is the latest map in the updates. Here we go. Thursday at 2 p.m., Helene is expected to get up to a 4. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to land as a 4, but even if it's a high 3, this is going to be a problem. All this area you can see right about here is under the hurricane warning. Tampa would be right here, Apalachicola right there. Now, we have another map to show you where the storm surge is going to be the worst. Now, the storm surge is basically the ocean water coming up on land. And because of the trajectory and because of the surf and because of the way everything's located, you can see right about here from just north of Tampa all the way around, they're looking at 12 to 18 foot of water coming in. So obviously they need to get out of there. Hopefully they're heeding all the precautions. You know, we do the best we can to let people know. Some people just don't want to listen, and they're going to take their chances on this kind of situation. This will be the strongest storm of the season, and Helene is going to be one for the rewriting the record books. Now, here's another strange thing going on. This is John, tropical storm, came up from the Pacific, rolled over Acapulco, went back out to sea, and now is probably going to roll back up again. So it's not over with, and these are very strong winds and a torrential rainfall that's occurring in southern Mexico. Now, here's the rain expected over the next 4 or 5 days. You can see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For us, once the front comes through tonight, we're going to clear up. We're going to be dry. But look at this. We're looking at 8 to 15 inches of rain rolling up into the panhandle of Florida. And then Macon, Georgia's like right about here. They're going to get 80 to 90 mile an hour winds even after landfall. So all of Georgia is really kind of in the path of the storm. It's going to get tremendous rainfall in that area as well. So for us, look at that. Sunny skies, north wind, high of 88. Not bad. Sunny skies, north wind, high of 89 in Cuero. 7-day forecast, it's beautiful. In fact, through the weekend and through football Friday night, couldn't ask for nicer. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads today on your phone. Toss it back to Shawna.
All right, thanks a lot, Mac. Well, now we toss it over to Max Williams with a look at what he has coming up in sports.
All right, thanks, Shawna. I know the weather is cooling down a little bit here in South Texas and around the areas, but some teams are still making measures to beat the heat. We'll talk about this more coming up in sports. Now, I know everyone, we're near the halfway point of the football season, but the temperatures, they're cooling down. And as we know in Texas, whether you're playing football, whether you're going to have soccer, whether you got teams that are playing outdoors, you want to find ways to stay safe and beat the heat. Here's 25 News Now sports reporter Ray Robinson with more.
With high school football in full swing still means dangerous temperatures in the crossroads. Luckily, local school districts in our area is taking necessary protocols to keep your athletes cool. These past few months have been the hottest in recorded history for the crossroads, so meaning the task for safe practices for football have become more difficult. Victoria schools have recently held their practices early in the morning as part of their wet bulb global temperature protocol to help combat this issue. Victoria ISD Athletic Director Spencer Gant was able to provide us with extra information regarding the protocol.
Whereas the wet bulb measures about 5 or 6, and it actually determines what the weather feels like on your skin. When you practice before school or early in the morning, you completely take the wet bulb out of it. I mean, it's not hot. You're not worried about kids having heat-related illnesses, that kind of stuff.
Athletic director down in Vanderbilt, Texas for Industrial, Coach Narin was one of the few schools that still practiced after school, which was when the temperature was at its highest. His approach remained the same in keeping their athletes cool.
To deal with the heat, obviously it's frequent water breaks. Make sure the kids are hydrated, checking them before they go out. It's, some days when it was extremely hot, we went just t-shirts and shorts and no shoulder pads, so we've been doing.
I caught up with 25 News Now meteorologist Scott Pitney to get further knowledge on the wet bulb global temperature. Now, Scott, with the wet bulb global temperature being such a deciding factor in football practices being able to practice, can you give us a little bit more detail about what the wet bulb global temperature is exactly?
Yeah, right. So in the summertime especially, you hear us talk about heat index and feels like temperature a lot, which accounts for temperature and humidity. Wet bulb globe temperature, also known as WBGT, also accounts for sunlight as well as wind, and all these elements have an effect on the human body, especially during strenuous exercise during the summer months. Now, the U.S. Army published this chart. This is a very handy chart. Let me just give an example. We'll just take the worst case scenario. If you have a wet bulb globe temperature of 90 degrees or more, wow, that's a lot of heat. And you just follow this over to, let's just pick the hard work area, since we're talking about football and things like that. According to this chart, the recommendation is to practice 10 minutes and rest 50 minutes. And this also includes the fluid, to have about 1.5 quarts of fluid with that wet bulb globe temperature of 90 degrees.
Ray Robinson, KAVU TV 25 News Now, Sports.
All right, thanks, Wade. Now, one of the teams that's kind of finding a way to beat the heat is Victoria West. They practice mostly all their practice in the morning, and it's paid off. They're 4-0 right now under head coach Courtney Boyce, and one of the star players from last week's game was wide receiver Tristan Menard. He had a kickoff return, had 3 touchdowns as well to help the Warriors win over Beeville Jones last week. I caught up with him, trying to see how he felt from last week and how he looks forward to start district play.
It felt great putting trust in my guys and just having the confidence to go out there and do what I did. It was weird. I mean, not weird, but not used to playing guys in San Antonio. This is new to us. So just going out there and doing what we could do, see how we do.
Menard is hoping to start district play strong and stay undefeated versus San Antonio McCullum this Friday night. That's going to do it here in sports. Don and Shawna, back to you.
Max, thank you, and we're back in a moment. A husband and wife team has performed as clowns at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival for 40 years. Finally tonight, a family affair for some Minnesota clowns. Lloyd Bryant and Rosie Cole are professional clowns. They're also married. They have performed at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival for 40 years. Their duo is called Theater of Fools. The Bryants are serious. They're not clowning around. Their son Gabe joined them 2 years ago. While running away from the circus is the running joke, it's harder when it runs in the family.
Right. So these are a little different than the clowns that you're used to with the nose and the big colorful hair.
Renaissance related, like we were saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've been together for a long, long time. But you know, I don't mind if people in Florida right now are running away because this storm headed their way.
Yeah,
Ooh.
they need to get up and go tonight because by tomorrow it might start getting very late. Helene is going to be one for the record books, folks. It's going to be a powerful storm that comes in tomorrow night. I mean, that soon, as it moves fairly quickly. Now, for us, we're on the backside of it, just like you saw earlier in the season of the tropical storm season. We're on the backside getting a north wind, and that'll be a dry wind, which will give us a little bit of a cooling. Now, the showers that you see around here right now will be all ending within the next hour or so, and then we clear up very nicely for the rest of the week.
All right, thank you, Mac. Thanks for watching.
Join us back here tonight at 10.